Hello, everyone. I'm Joe.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Matt.
And we are the hosts of
Beats, Balls, and Bourbon,
the official podcast of the Groove Machine, your Louisville City soccer supporter drumline. We have an amazing show today for everybody. I hope you stick around and check it out. But first, before we do that, let's do a little business. I want to say thank you to everybody that was here last week. Taylor Sorrells was here. Lisa Hines was here. Jose Pazmino. And James Pizzolatto. We had a fantastic segment at the end of that for about a half hour. We just did we did a bit of a roundtable. So if you have not watched that, you can go to YouTube and you can check that out. Also, we want to give a shout out to all of the other podcasts. We have what are the other podcasts? I want to include you guys. What are the other podcasts? No, I'm kidding.
There's the Final Judgment.
Final Judgment, right?
Comes out on Tuesday. Barrel Proof comes out on Wednesday.
Barrel Proof comes out on Wednesday.
In the House comes out on Thursday.
Thursday, right? Scouse's House.
Yeah. We come out on YouTube on Friday-ish.
And the Los Morados, the Luchadors.
I don't know that they have a set day. I think they do.
They just kind of do whenever they do.
It's on a different platform. I keep forgetting to listen.
They function on their own calendar. Don't worry about it. Derek, how are you, sir?
I'm doing really good.
You look good. You always look good, though. There's something about you that you have this. I don't know what it is.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Will you be my life? You should be my life coach.
I'm going to be your life coach.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to be.
Wow.
And Matthew, how are you?
I am just couldn't be any better.
You look good.
Thank you.
I always say that. That's my well.
Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good.
I feel like
man.
we don't ask.
That's okay because I know you love me.
I'd like to shout out to Joe. Joe, we were speaking earlier. Joe is an excellent PR guy.
Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe we put that to the test today.
Yes.
Because we have a fantastic show for you.
And that's mostly to your credit. You lined up just an awesome lineup of guests. Who we got?
Well, we have Dr. Mark Lynn, who is glad, very graciously. Lynn Family Stadium is going to be the name of our brand new facility that when you drive by, every single time you drive by this thing, it is just I don't want to use the word imposing because it's not scary.
Traffic jams on 64
amazing.
and 70. Traffic jams on 64 and 71 are like my favorite thing every day now.
I would call it assertive.
Right. Assertive is awesome. And then we have Chairman John Neese here to tell us all about himself and the comings and goings of the teams that have great guests. And then also we have two representatives from the fundraising effort that we're going to be kicking off tonight. It is going to be a long-term effort. It's going to be one that we're really looking forward to doing. They're very happy to have us. We're very happy to be a part of it as well. So we will introduce them later on tonight as well. But we want to get going because, this weekend or tomorrow, it's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night
is
something's happening.
The biggest rivalry in the history of professional sports ever, Matthew. What is it called?
It's called the Louisville-Indianapolis Proximity Association Football Contest.
What do you call it?
I call it Epic.
I love that.
They did that whole bit online where you're supposed to. How do you pronounce it? I'm like, it's Epic.
And when you talk about the greatest rivalry in the history of sports, you talk about its greatest hero. And the greatest hero ever in the history of this event is a gentleman by the name of Bugsy O'Malley. And Bugsy once again has agreed to come on the show. We're just waiting for. Oh wait, that's not it. We don't want them. No. I'm sorry, guys.
I kind of do, but just not right now.
This is look at me trying to do this stuff. Here we go. I think this is going to be him.
Is Bugsy doing okay?
I think we're going to find out.
Okay.
He seemed kind of spry earlier.
He seemed a little bit. We had a little bit of it's ringing. Hello, Bugsy.
Hello. Is it you, Jim?
No, Bugsy. It's Joe.
Wait to hear from you, chaps.
Yeah.
Oh my word! I'll tell you what. Since I've seen the team is in such a great winning streak, or so they tell me, Jack. I could not wait to talk to you boys.
Well, and we're looking forward to hearing from that. Just you're doing okay health-wise. Everything's wonderful.
I think I'm doing okay, Joe.
Okay, because that's important.
I think I'm all right.
Because
it's just with all of the excitement from the team. All of the uplifting news coming from your way.
That is correct.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead.
Speaking of winning streaks, did I ever tell you boys that I've been married 11 times?
No, you haven't.
That sounds like the opposite of a winning streak.
I was going to guess one or two because you are a soccering legend, but 11 times?
I love the taste of wedding cake.
Okay.
I've been married so many times.
Uh-huh.
I'm in the Hokey Pokey Hall of Fame.
Oh my God.
It's the truth. I wouldn't lie to you. But I'll tell you what else, boys.
What else?
Marriage can be a 3-ring circus, you know.
Yes, it can.
Engagement ring,
Mm-hmm.
wedding ring,
Mm-hmm.
and suffering.
Oh, well played.
Imagine-
Oh,
I've
my
also
Lord.
heard of the old saying,
Mm-hmm.
you get fat and happy.
Right.
Well, you know what, Joe?
Yeah.
One of my wives gets so fat, when she got in the bathtub, the water in the toilet ran over the top.
Oh, wow.
She was so fat, when she fell over at the beach, she rocked herself to sleep trying to get up. She was eventually woke up by a lifeguard,
Mm-hmm.
and he only asked her to get up because the tide was waiting to get in.
Well,
Again,
that's
back to-
I think it's quite heroic that you would. I think it's quite heroic that you would pursue such a wonderful prize.
But I'll tell you, my best winning streak at Kentucky.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Tell us about the winning streak. Yes.
We had the 3 Hatfield triplets in our midfield.
Mm-hmm.
We had Antoine, we had Percival,
Mm-hmm.
and we had Gus. And Gus ran a halfway house for one-armed jugglers. And strangely,
Mm-hmm.
2 of the Hatfield boys disappeared under very conspicuous circumstance.
The Hatfields from West Virginia. That's correct. Interesting.
Oh, I think so. Coach Billy Ray Joe Bob McCoy,
Mm-hmm.
he invited them on a combination spearfishing hot air ballooning weekend.
Okay.
And that was the last we heard of them, Jermaine.
Well,
Really.
well, those Hatfields and McCoys, they had some issues back then.
Oh, well, Coach McCoy was a true legend, but a bit of an odd duck.
Okay.
I forward you a copy of one of his most inspiring speeches.
Yes,
there.
we have that right here.
And I think all 3 of your listeners might enjoy hearing. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I need to go, John. It's grunge night in the recreation hall, and I need to change my depend before I lace up my Doc Martin.
No, wait. It's grunge night. Do you have to dress up, or can you come as you are?
Oh.
As you are. I'm ready, boy.
Okay. Hey, I'll tell you what.
Let me hear it. Read me the speech, Jim.
I'm going to, and it's Joe, by the way. But
Peace out.
okay, I'm gonna read. Thanks a lot, there, Bugsy. Appreciate your calling
Thanks,
in.
Bugsy. Always an honor.
Bugsy Malone, ladies and gentlemen. He is
Bugsy O'Malley.
Bugsy O'Malley. What is it, Malone?
I think it's someone else.
Yeah, that could be someone else, and you know what it is. It's just that he makes you
Forget what you're
he
doing.
makes you forget what you're
and where
doing.
you are, What your name is.
Oh my
Why
gosh!
you're doing this.
But yeah, he did send us the speech. Now apparently, this is the speech that Billy Ray Joe Bob McCoy, who was a great coach for us, gave them in 1923. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's get this fired up. Are you ready? We're unmuted there?
We're good to go, man.
I'm going to listen to the speech off camera.
Okay.
That's okay.
Absolutely. All right. So here we go, folks. This is the, all right, let's, there it is. Apparently this is the speech. We were down 2-0. It was halftime. And the boys were a little down. So Billy Ray Joe Bob McCoy had to rally the troops. So this is the speech that he gave at halftime. This is the halftime of the 1923 Louisville-Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest. Well, fellers, looks like we are up against it once again. Sadly, we have fallen behind our arch nemesis, the Indianapolis 11, and we are faced with a daunting task of overcoming this deficit and finding a way to gain a victory over them. Now, I will not lie to you. I was like y'all, a bit surprised by the new formation they done put out there. I mean, seriously, instead of human beings, who expecting them to put 3 live donkeys out there on the field? I mean, come on, they are donkeys. And apparently they have found a way to navigate around the Indianapolis mule rule, and we are not too happy about that. And watching these nasty animals strategically leave the remains of their lunch in our box has been quite discouraging. But watching you all engage in slide tackles to discourage their efforts is a feat of courage that I have rarely seen, and it makes my heart swell with pride. And to top it all off, I have been taken aback by the way a couple of their players have been looking at the hairy pack animals in a bit of a lovingly way. I mean, I get it. It's Indianapolis, Indiana, and there ain't much to do up there when the corn has been picked and the sun goes down. But I mean, there are limits to what we will take. And given the word score a whole new definition, us godly men will take no more of their unsavory practices. Now, if they were people just pretending to be donkeys as opposed to the actual thing, that would not have been a surprise or given us any pause. We have played the new team up there in Cincinnati enough times to see people acting like a bunch of asses, so no big deal there. And speaking of dumbasses, I remember the moment when the Indy 11 coach in the 1911 game at halftime. It was a tough struggle indeed, trying to find 11 guys that could play after the damn bourbon tasting contest. We was locked up with no score at the end of the first half, and his coach, he came over to the locker room, he called to me, he said, "Hey," and I said, "What?" He said, I will make you a gentlemanly wager. For every goal from here on out, we will walk to the middle of the field, and the coach of the team who scored upon will have to pay the other coach 5 cents. I pondered this for a second. I said, well, 5 cents, a lot of money. But honor dictates that since you challenged me in front of our home crowd, I must accept that bet. Much to my chagrin, they scored quickly, and I was forced to take that slow, painful steps to pay him off in front of our entire crowd. It was humiliating. But as if an answer to a prayer, we scored in the very last moment of the game to preserve a draw. I happily pranced back to the middle of the field, where the dejected coach was forced to return the change he had so gleefully taken from me just moments before. And something told me from that day forward, we would be very happy to get our nickel back in this rivalry.
Very good.
Boys, gather around. I need to tell you this. This is very important.
What is it, Coach?
My compatriots, it is in tough times like these that I'm reminded of a quote from my old grandpappy, Rufus Billy Bob Joe McCoy. It is something he said while commanding a company at the Battle of Perryville. He looked square into the eyes of those young boys so far from home, and he said, "Boys, no matter what comes over that hill, no matter what we encounter, no matter what happens, we will stand our ground." Now, the fact that when the first shot was fired, he took a dump in his pants, jumped on his horse, and rode it nonstop to Nicaragua should not be the point here, okay? The point of the matter should be that he had the guts to tell other people what to do, and I proudly carry that family tradition on right now. So, boys, there will be no quitting us today. We will fight them. We will fight them on a soccer field, or we'll fight them on a baseball field, or we'll fight them on a baseball field that's part of a soccer field. And we will take the fight to them, and we will press. We will press them. In fact, we will invoke a high press. The Louisville high press. Ain't nothing wrong with being a little high in Louisville, is there, boys? It's just what we do. And we will move around their big asses, and we will gingerly step around those strategically placed donkey piles, and we will use the skills that the good Lord gave us to preserve our honor and win this contest, this special contest, this Louisville, Indianapolis Proximity Association football contest. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
All righty then. That was inspiring. It was very inspiring. I'm very inspired right now. Now, the fact that we lost 9-1 should not bother anybody.
Well, I mean, in fairness, he did go over. So the first 6 minutes of the second half, we weren't even on the field.
That's right. So the speech was so inspiring. The guys didn't go out there. They started the game early, and they only scored 6 goals in 10 minutes with nobody out there. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So tomorrow is
Turns out donkeys don't have much of an aim.
Yeah,
We have that going for us.
No, they don't. Okay. Well, anyway, enough of the silliness. Let's get to the important people. Okay, we're going to start with Dr. Mark Lynn. Dr. Lynn, if you wouldn't mind coming on up here, sir. Dr. Lynn we've never met personally, and I'm really looking forward to having a conversation.
How are you, sir?
I hope you didn't mind that speech.
I see you're a little quiet, shy, and bashful.
Yes, I am. We did watch you when they had the ceremony to announce that your family name is now part of the stadium.
Yes.
So as a supporter, I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody saying thank you so much for being a part of this.
You're welcome.
I think it's probably very exciting, yes?
You could say that. Of course, you know how that happened, right?
No, sorry, do not.
John Neese put me in a room, beat me with a stick, and then started kicking me around until it happened.
I can't picture that.
Now, you notice he's still in a cast over there, right?
I noticed you all eyeing each other in the green room. Was that what that was?
Oh, that's what it's all about. No.
That's
It was a real honor. I got to give Brad Gordon
Okay.
a lot of credit for bugging the holy tar out of me
Really? Okay.
on a routine, but nicely.
Okay.
But then he somehow managed to finagle his way into talking to my wife,
Oh, okay.
which is how this really happened.
All
I
right.
think my son set it up. So
Okay. Now we're going to get back to that, but I'd like to get back, not having grown up in the area. I'd like to know a little bit about you before you became Dr. Lynn. I mean, where are you from, so on and so forth.
I was actually born here in Louisville, so Louisville is home, and we grew up over in Western Kentucky. Cindy, my wife, we started dating when I was 15. She
Okay.
was 14, so we've been
So
high
that was
school
about-
sweethearts.
About 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm trying
You're
to-
so close.
I'm trying to suck up. I
Yeah,
really
you're
am.
so close. But no, we got, started dating in high school, both graduated from Apollo, went to undergrad at Murray.
Okay.
Did my 4 years there, went to Southern College of Optometry in Memphis.
Okay.
Swore I'd never move back to Louisville because my sister lived here at the time.
Mhm.
But we moved back to Louisville. She moved to Texas, so it was okay. So, no, I kid her all the time that the only reason I came back, she left. But Louisville's been home since 1985 when we got out of school. So we now have 4 kids. We had 2 in school, 2 since we got out. All 4 kids live here.
Okay.
They're all married. They all live within 2 blocks of me. I
Wow.
have 16 grandkids.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
taught my kids to do something right in life. So
Golly.
and this is home. I mean, this is where we're going to be. This is what it's about. The primary nucleus of my business is here.
Okay.
And the better Louisville does, the better we all do.
Absolutely.
It's just, you can call it an economic gift, you can call it a boom, but it's just good for the city. And what John and the guys have done with Lou City and getting this to where it is, it's nothing short of just amazing.
Okay.
Soccer itself is growing rapidly as a whole.
Mhm.
I mean, just look at the numbers that continue to watch. It's dwarfing everything else in its percentage of growth. So it's great for Louisville, it's great for Kentucky, and it's great for us because we're here.
Right.
So,
So a little bit about your business.
Yes.
Vision Works, right? Is that correct?
yes.
When it started, what prompted you to do it?
Well, I knew I wanted to be an eye doctor since 9th grade.
Okay.
So just always I had that desire. So that was the easy part for me growing up. Now getting there and figuring out what I wanted to do, that was a whole, how I wanted to do it was a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I actually came out of school in 1985, started with Dr. Beiser's downtown.
Okay.
The practice actually started back in 1941, downtown Louisville. Then his brother over in Jeffersonville, Indiana, became a partner with the Beiser family. You got to go back to 1991 is when that started. And then in 98, I bought the practice from Jerry Beiser.
Okay.
And we had 19 locations at that point. And now I have 90 locations in 6 states.
Golly.
And so it keeps me just a little busy.
I was going to say, right?
Yeah.
Is that a family business? I'm assuming maybe are some of your kids
Well,
involved, or-
my son is my chief operations officer, is VP of operations.
Okay.
He actually has his doctorate in music and
Oh.
was
All right.
a professor at University of Louisville for a number of years.
Golly, okay.
Taught down in North Texas for a while.
Great school. North Texas State has a phenomenal music program.
And that's why he went there. That's where he got his doctorate from. So he finally got, I think the world of academia caught up with him. Wanted to get out and do something a little different. And so I said, well, when you leave, we can talk. So I didn't offer him a job till after he was looking for one.
Right.
And then brought him on. It's been a really, really good thing. I've got my oldest daughter has 6 kids. So she's a full-time mom. Oldest just turned 13. So with 6, 5 boys and a girl. Poor mom. And then number 2 daughter's a dentist here in town. Just opened her 2nd practice.
All right.
That's known as Floss 32. And then the youngest has a set of twins, and then a 2-year-old and a 7-month-old, almost 8 now. So, and she's got her master's in elementary ed, but she's stay-at-home mom for the moment.
Okay.
But youngest daughter's doing about part-time work with me, making phone calls and doing some checkup stuff. My wife manages all my expenses, so I
Okay.
can't spend a penny without her knowing about it. And we do a lot of it in the family, but it's not really a family business. I'm the only optometrist there. So
Okay. Now, at some point, I'm assuming maybe a family member or somebody that you knew got involved in playing soccer or something? Because eventually you get involved with University of Louisville. I'm not involved, but I mean, you become the sponsor of that stadium. So what was the process?
Yeah, it goes back to the Tom Jurich, Mark Jurich days. And way back when, I've been doing sports vision with athletes for 26 years.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't know that. It's sort of all things you can do with optometry, that is sort of my love.
Right,
And
right.
I love working with athletes.
Okay.
So I did it on a volunteer basis for a number of years with University of Louisville, then became the official eye care provider for the athletes.
Mhm.
And, all 4 kids went to University of Louisville. All 4 of their spouses went to University of Louisville. They all graduated from there. So it became sort of a natural piece. And Tom said, hey, we're growing. This is the next building. What do you think? I said, you're crazy. Who cares about soccer? And, it's that 1-0 sport that nobody gets excited about. And we talked about it, and then they kept after us. And finally said, it's the right thing for the university.
Okay.
As the University of Louisville grows, as University of Kentucky grows, so grows the state.
Right.
And they're truly economic engines.
Mhm.
And it just was the right thing for us to do. And honestly, I wasn't a big soccer fan. And you can thank Ken Lola a lot for getting me into soccer.
Well,
I remember
Not to interrupt you, but that's the common theme. Most of the people that come here we've had Brad here, Brad Estes. We've had just everybody that's come here that's had some association. The vast majority of them had nothing to do with soccer before that. And they said the exact same things.
He was fantastic. The grandkids were playing soccer, and I'm going, oh, crap, now I got to go watch soccer games. But, it turned out to be really good. And now I catch myself, believe it or not, I have a little TV in my office. It's 90 inches, but it's a little one, and it's right in front of my desk. I catch myself watching the Premier League or La Liga. I was watching La Liga the other day.
Nice.
It's and all of a sudden 45 minutes later, I've done nothing at my office, and so I got to figure out how to turn the TV off. But anyway, so I've turned into a bit of a soccer nut. And I would beat Ken up with questions. Why'd you pull out of the 4-4-3? Why aren't you taking off the wings anymore? The guy can't seem to come down. And he just looks at me and goes, I'm glad you don't like this sport. But once you learn it, it's very exciting. There's a lot of things that happen nowhere near the ball.
Right.
And that is actually how the sport is played. And it's fun to watch.
Well, the artistic end of it. You said you have a son that's a musician. Maybe there's more, of artistic part of this game is amazing. And that's the thing. It's the constant fluidity.
That's right.
Me being a musician myself is that you appreciate, once you start learning the game, you understand the formations, you understand what's trying to be attempted, but the fluidity and the artistry that's involved in the calculations that are going out there. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to back up and ask you a question about doing eye care for athletes, generally younger people. What are the differences? What are the challenges? There's got to be some special challenges.
Well, here's the question. Most athletes at the Division I college level or even at the professional level, they all have very good eyesight. But how good are their eyes in working in space and time together?
Okay.
And that is the real question. And in fact, if you're 98%, if you're an athlete for Lou City or Indy 11 or pick your team, and you are compared to everyone else, you're in the 98.5, 99th percentile of athletes. Well, what if I can get you to, instead of 98.5, what if I can get you to 98.7, 98.8? Wow. How much better do you need to be to get that half a step on somebody or that half an inch of jump? We had a player at U of L, I can't name names due to HIPAA, but his eyes, when he looked up and to his right, did not line up together. Oh. And every time he would come in from the wrong side of the field, he'd have to go up and to his right. He missed headers.
Oh, wow.
He missed open goals like crazy. Well, he was hitting the ball exactly where he thought it was. Problem wasn't in the center of the ball. And so once we trained his eyes a little bit and realized that he needs to come in from the other side, his next 2 goals were both headers. So little things that we can pick up on and we can help with. I was working with Bellarmine basketball team. Okay. And one of the opposing guards, I noticed every time he set up to shoot, he'd always turn his head to the left. It means he's shooting off his right eye. And I told Coach, hey, guard just hit 6 3-pointers on you in the first half. You got to get a left hand up. And I told him why. kid didn't hit a single 3-pointer in second half.
Okay.
So
okay.
because he did not see as well, obviously, but
Right.
little things I look for, some people go to watch the game. I watch weird things.
No,
like
it's not
that.
weird at all. I mean, that's
Wow.
informed. And then I guess I have another question for you. This age, we're so aware now over the last few years about CTE. We're aware about concussions. We're aware about how does you talk about athletes and eye care. Is there any correlation between the two? I mean, how do you?
Oh, absolutely. There are huge studies going on. Indiana University is doing a lot of the leading research into it, and I've been working with some of their researchers. That I say working. I've been learning from some of the researchers up there. What I've found in working with athletes is that I could get concussion athletes back on the field quicker if I use strobe lights as part of their therapy.
Really?
Now, I couldn't begin to explain to you why. We sort of backdoored into it and go, well, geez, they're recovering much faster than normal. And I called the guy doing the research up at IU, and he goes, well, this and this. He gave me, I still don't understand the explanation. But
Okay.
apparently that has also something they have found, and they're triggering it. And there's a lot of work to be done in that area. And the eyes are super critical in the
Sure.
concussion piece. They've
Yeah.
got to come back. If they're not lined up, you're not going to compete. And, tell me the sport you don't need your eyes in.
Totally, Marlon. I mean, constantly moving. And I know it's an NFL or football turn head on a swivel, but we've had a couple guys lost to concussions, and I can relate to what you were talking about before. With somebody looks up and they can't focus. By the second half of any game, we're pretty much the same way. We can't look at any direction really focus too well.
I
It's
understand.
probably not the same when it's not
the same reasons.
It's not athletically driven, but Matt
Well, it depends.
Matt knows nothing about that.
Depends on how heavy the cup is you're lifting.
Okay, so Louisville City game, first game that you've been to. Do you remember when that was?
Oh, that's a great question. 3 years ago, probably. Trying to remember the very first game. I went to it. I think Brad Gordon drugged me to it. I'm pretty sure he did.
We love Brad. I love Brad.
Yeah, he drugged me to it. He and I played well. He's a much better tennis player than I am. But we played tennis together. We started talking about tennis one day, and he said, "Come on out," and set me up with a couple of tickets. And I think we ran into each other at a U of L game probably, and just went out the next game and had a blast. And I was hooked. What really hooked me into it was the business aspect first. I signed up with some sponsorships for the business, and that was really big. That we have a clientele that seems to be big soccer fans. So we give away tickets to every game online.
Right.
And it is by far our largest response
Is it really?
of all that we do. We do multiple things in different states, and it is the winner by far.
And I'm assuming you've been to sporting events. Obviously, you have before you got involved in the soccer thing. Compare the experience of being a supporter or a fan at a NFL game, baseball game, whatever you've been to, as opposed to coming to one of these soccer games.
You have to go to one of the big rivalry football games to match any soccer game.
Right.
And it really, I had the privilege of traveling with the U of L men's soccer team over to Spain when they went. And my wife and I both went. And we got to go see Atletico and got to go in Barcelona. We don't understand fans. I mean, we don't have anything anywhere remote in the United States like these guys live their team. I'm asking them, you go into a stadium, huge stadium, there's got these big sections all cordoned off. I goes, why nobody's sitting there? Well, that's for the visitors. And I goes, well, why aren't the visitors here? Everybody else is here. Oh, well, they have to park like 18 miles away, and they're bussed in under armed guards with M16s. Then they're brought in all at once. And I said, well, why is nobody sitting below them? Well, if they sit below them, you get hit with beer bottles and stuff they throw down at you. And okay, that's probably taking this game a little serious.
Well, about 3 years. I have family in Spain, and my one cousin lives southwest of Madrid. He lives near a place called Leganés, and they were promoted 3 years ago. Now, he's always been a Real Madrid. He's always been a Real Madrid fan, but he lives in that neighborhood. And they got promoted. I messaged him, and we did one of these phone calls. He was crying. I mean, he was literally, and he was just so caught up in the emotion of the area having a team that got promoted all the way up to Division I, and they're slowly starting to inch up themselves. And you're absolutely correct. The supporters in soccer it's a whole different animal. I've never been able to explain it. I've been a fan of the game for 40
Picture a
years.
stadium with 47,000 people. How many people there were there? All standing up, nobody sitting down, all with their scarves, singing the same song at the same time. I mean, it's you just look around the stadium in awe.
Right.
It's amazing. It's simply amazing.
Did you have anything? I'm sorry.
No, I'm really happy that that you took the reins on coming in and putting your name.
Well, I was
on
afraid
all
John
the
was going to
soccer
kick me
stuff.
again. So.
I mean, it's really as somebody that grew up here, and I've been involved in soccer since I was about 4 years old, and I've traveled and I've just done all this stuff. It's good that people are stepping up here. 8, 9, 10 years ago, nobody was stepping up for soccer around here. It was we had nothing.
But I'll tell you what got me. What the first game that really sunk into my brain was the U of L against UCLA playoff game in the snow on that god awful field, the old soccer field.
Oh,
at
okay.
U of L.
Right.
And I'm going,
Okay.
look at all these people standing there. These people are stupid. But they were livid, and I know it was a heck of a game. I mean, it came down to it, and we're all standing there freezing our tails off with no place to go and no stadium to be at, but it didn't matter. The game was going on. The best part about soccer is that anybody can play it.
Right.
Except me. My feet don't function that way anymore. But I guess I could be goalie if they made the goal small enough since, but anyway. No, but it doesn't take a lot to be able to go out and have fun with.
No, and it doesn't cost a lot. It's like, these other sports are pricing themselves
That
out.
cost a lot.
NFL,
If they charge me on the stadium, it better cost a lot.
Well, that's what I want to ask you about. Is that you're the perfect lead-in. So now you get, the stadium's coming up or whatever.
Yeah.
You say to yourself, you want to get involved in this. You mentioned Brad, okay? But at some point you said, we're doing this.
Actually, my wife said.
Your wife said you're doing this, okay? So, and then she says, and then there's got to be some sort of really crazy pride to know that you can do this and get involved. I mean,
good Lord has blessed my wife and I and our family, and we are firm believers that you got to give back.
Absolutely.
And honestly, this was never about business. It was never about trying to figure out how to make a dollar back on it. This was about community and legacy. I want my kids and my grandkids to understand that if you want to really be successful, then figure out how to be helpful.
Right.
And it was something that was good. I really liked the people we were working with. I give John a lot of grief, but John and Brad Estes, and I know a number of the guys.
Brad Estes.
Brad Estes.
Sorry.
That's right. Forgot.
You need something to drink?
Then,
Matt's got a Coke for Mike. Hey,
whatever it takes.
So, the guys are solid. We've had, talking through all this, we had agreements, disagreements, goods and bads. And, it's very easy when you can actually just have a conversation with somebody and trust what they give back to you. I don't have to like what you say as long as I can trust what you're saying.
Right.
So though that's called negotiations, called just working out a deal. That's just life.
Now, I don't, John, this is a great time to bring you in here. Would you mind coming over, sir? John Neese, as you know, is the chairman of the team, and he has graciously agreed to come here, or limp here, apparently.
Limp here.
Before we talk about this relationship, what happened to your foot?
Well, if my eyes had been just a little sharper, I would have kicked them.
That's what you get for not coming to see me first.
Chasing my grandkids, of course.
Okay.
Or thinking I could keep up with them.
There you go.
We're gonna backtrack to some of that. But I wanted to bring you in right now because we're talking about timeline right at the point where Dr. Lynn's getting involved. So when you hear about this, I mean, you have to be pretty excited about it, right? I mean,
I was thrilled
right.
that we had another Louisville family wanting to do this as opposed to just corporate America. Not that we don't love our corporate.
No, we love it, absolutely. Right? But the thing is that there's been, this is Louisville. This Keep Louisville, the Keep Louisville weird thing is part of it, but it's more about soccer is organic. And when you have something local happening here, I mean, you've seen it for the last few years yourself. I mean, to see this grow the way it's been growing and to have this kind of boost, man, it's got to be pretty special. It's got to be.
Well, 7-8 years ago, any of you guys thought about having a stadium in Butchertown?
No. Have a stadium anywhere.
Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago, if I'd have brought something up like that to some of the people that I used to hang out with, they would have said, "You're crazy. Nobody's going to support soccer here. You're never going to have a stadium. You're never going to have professional soccer." People said that to me, and I was like, "Well, we'll see." So
and the partnerships that you've been developing, if you can mention some of the folks that are working really hard to do that too, so they get some some credits and something like, because I know it's got to be a massive effort to do to build, like we talked about with Brad building the relationship with Dr. Lynn, and then there's still other ones too, I'm sure. So
Sure. Well, Brad Estes, right, has been working. Been doing a great job. Yeah. You are, Brad.
Yeah. He worked for you before, didn't he?
Yeah, he worked for me before. Well, he had a job there before. I'm not sure if he did anything. Brad Gordon's already been mentioned. Pat Denbo, who really is leading all of that. David Walkovic, who runs ticket sales.
yeah, good dude. Dave's a real good dude.
Kind of an unsung person, Davina.
I've said on the show before, the hardest job I've seen anybody engage in is trying to keep those kids herded before they come out on the field. Because I've been understood when I'm trying to do the national anthem. I mean, that is just the craziest. And she's just like, okay, here we go. This is what we're doing. And they're like, okay, but she's amazing.
She is amazing. She got there right about the same time I did. So we've had some good laughs at where it started and where it is today.
Okay. So looking forward, what would you see? I know you've been involved in the community. I guess the last question would be, sky's the limit's going to be the right answer. But I mean, I would like to thinking a little bit more, are you thinking a little bit more about youth soccer? Are you thinking a little bit more about foosball? Are you thinking about, what else could you see strategically happening to grow the game in Louisville, but also to help the partnerships as well?
John, you or me?
You go ahead.
All right. Well, from my perspective, which I'm not the guy writing the check, so
right,
it's
a
lot easier for me.
I'm thinking just a person in the community.
I think the ideas that I've heard them discuss, and I have been talked with about the academy first and foremost, the development of more fields in the area, and coming up with practice playing fields, something that makes sense for people to use. I'm going to say it again. Get your cups ready. Brad Estes and I had a conversation. So
let's have you back every 2 weeks.
Yeah, that gentleman and I just had a conversation yesterday and today, and I'm chairman of the Kentucky State Fair Board, and we have some property, and I put him in touch with the people he needs to talk to about looking into possible fields and things that can be done.
Right. Okay.
And then I've been working with like a group from the Kentucky Fire. They were looking to grow, and maybe there is a allegiance there that could be formed of somehow, and getting that to mesh together. I don't know. These guys will have to figure it out. But if you're going to build anything sports related, you got to build for the future.
Right.
And I think getting more kids involved and giving more kids access is always the greatest piece you can do. But at the same time, you have to figure out how to incorporate the existing. And that is what Lou City has really done the best.
Right.
They've brought the old with the new and figured out how to make it something easy without forcing it down your throat, because nobody likes that. They've done a really good job of positioning it, laying it in place, putting it together. And honestly, you're probably going to look back at this and figure that having to play at the Slugger Field may have been the best thing ever for both groups.
Absolutely. And the reason I was asking,
of course, I'm not the one playing on a pitcher's mound either.
well, the reason I wanted to ask is because it's not just the people involved in the team have a vision, right? But it's also leaders in the community, both from a business perspective and community perspective. They know the communities. You know the community.
Yes.
I mean, you have been a part of this. So I guess I would ask John. I would ask you when business leaders come up to you. I'm obviously you're going to be receptive, but how many times have you been enlightened by ideas that others have brought to you that weren't part of this, and you're like, yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, is that something that we want to pursue?
Well, probably every week.
Right.
We're out talking with folks about what we can do and how to do it, and the best way to approach it, or maybe a different way to approach the same problem.
Okay.
And you mentioned it really when you talked about the stadium. And, I do hope people get it. But there was a strong contingent of folks on the board and other owners who said, we don't just want a stadium. We want the best soccer stadium.
Right. It is beautiful.
World.
Oh, my God. I'm telling you.
We want something that when people come there and they experience it, they remember coming. And they get it because, the intent to make that stadium look like a bourbon barrel.
Yeah.
being formed wasn't accidental.
Mm-hmm.
It cost a bit more money than just a
Hear
stadium.
that?
But, you know, let's keep Louisville cool.
Right.
So we can be weird and still be cool.
Absolutely.
I think that's exactly what we were after with that. And as you look, you know, as Dr. Lynn said, as you look in the community, every kid can play soccer.
Right.
They can't all play at the elite level, but they can all play soccer. And, you know, it's just teaching them to appreciate and love the game, enjoy what we're trying to do out there. And I think one of the things that was really cool to me early on is James O'Connor and others were trying to teach the game to me, and we just traveling overseas and other places, is everyone said, you know, to use Bugsy O'Malley, I guess, you know, iron sharpens iron. And I would say, I'm sorry, what? We repeat it, you know, and I would say, well, what are you trying to tell me? And they said, well, if you want to develop professional soccer players, your best players have to play each other all the way up, just like they do in other sports. And I think that's the thing that if we can get that understood in America at large, not just Louisville, our kids are certainly talented and very capable of learning and playing in the Premier League, not just the onesie, twosie, but a lot of them. And I believe there's a ton of talent.
There's a ton of talent. Southern Indiana and this part of Kentucky, there is a ton of talent. We've seen it. You know, a couple of kids that have been coming up, like Ballard and Hubbard and guys like that. Dr. Lynn, I'm going to ask you if you'd like to. We ask everybody that comes on before they go ahead, give you an open mic and let you talk about anything that you want to talk about as far as the soccer thing and or whatever you'd like to. It's up to you.
No, I mean, I appreciate that, but really just keep doing what you're doing, guys. The more people like you are out there spreading the good word, the more it's going to grow. Soccer fans they're actually a very unique bunch. And I've learned
second and third that.
Yeah, I've learned to not just appreciate them, but you can learn a lot from them. Because over the years that I've actually been watching soccer and been involved in it, which is not near like you guys, but they're really true to their sport. I've met I've worked with lots and lots of athletes. And while they like their sport, they tend to also go do other things. And soccer players may be doing other things, but their first love deep down in their gut is always soccer. And they understand, most of them, even today, understand the foundation they have been building as they see the sport grow on an even bigger basis than they dreamed. And I think they all take a little pride in it. And you guys should too. The more you do, the more you build, the more viewers and watchers you get, the better off this is going to be for everybody.
Right. Absolutely.
And so it's a good thing. And I applaud John and the guys that are really putting it out there and taking the risk and going for it, because I believe in it. I believe in it's good for us. I believe it's good for the city, but most of all, it's just a good, fun thing to go do. It's a good family thing to be around.
And it gives us, we talked about this a couple shows ago. So a friend of mine back east who I love, and he's asked me, what do you get out of this? Assuming that it was just about, you know, spending money at an entertainment event. Said, you have no idea the amount of friends that I've made here that I've never had. And later on in the show, we'll have the folks from the charity that we're going to be doing. Never would have had the opportunity to raise money for them and have our folks get involved to do that as well. And that's what this is providing. Did you have anything else for Dr. Lynn at all?
No, I don't think. I appreciate what you're doing for the sport here in Louisville. I really do. So from the bottom of my heart, it's important to me, and I'm sure that the other guys in this room. Like it's a big deal to us.
And if you'd like to play drums, you're more than welcome anytime to come down and beat on some drums.
You know, I may come down there one day.
Bring it on down.
That'd be awesome.
I mean, the mayor comes down.
Just
You know,
don't.
I've seen the mayor hit the drum. You need to give him a lesson.
Well, that's what we're going to work on.
He's getting better.
He's getting better.
He is
We're
getting
gonna give him
better.
that. So, Dr. Lynn, thank you
Thank
so
you, guys.
much.
Appreciate
Ladies
it.
and gentlemen, Dr. Mark Lynn, really appreciate him coming down and discussing some things with us, and appreciate it. Thank
All
you.
right, I'm going to scoot out of here.
All right. So we're going to have Mr. Neese, Chairman Neese. I can't call you that. That's a little weird for me. So John will be fine. Oh, thank you. Because Chairman Neese is a little weird. But thank you. I guess now we can backtrack a little bit. First of all, thank you for coming on again. Really appreciate it. And the same question, we kind of go through the same thing since we're meeting everybody new. Before you got involved with the company, I mean, whatever you did, where are you from, family, such, that kind of thing.
From Newport, Kentucky.
Okay.
Beautiful downtown Newport. My lovely wife Penny is
Hi,
from
Penny.
Williamsburg, Ohio, 30 miles east or so of Cincinnati. One of my favorite chuckles is that I never thought I would root for anyone but Cincinnati. But
Amazing how that works out.
Once soccer got here, that changed quickly. We have 3 grown children, 2 boys, 26 and 36. John Ryan works with the team.
Right.
Max is in LA. And
John just went.
Left for Rome today.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Dropped him at the airport this afternoon.
Golly.
He and his wife, Brooke. Max is in LA. He's in the movie business,
Oh.
trying to be the next Steven Spielberg or something,
Okay.
I hope, or
Okay.
a writer. Then we have a daughter, Katie, here in town. Her and her husband, Shane, have our 2 grandchildren, which explains the boot. Chasing Bennett and Laney around is a full-time job. And then Shane runs Fall City Beer,
Okay,
which is the
right.
family beer.
Okay. And I got to ask you, university, where'd you went to school, that kind of thing?
Well, I hear the UK and U of L stuff, but I'm a northern guy.
There you go.
So, NKU was undergrad and then over to Xavier to graduate school.
Okay. And eventually you start, you started Fall City, did you not? Or is that?
No, then
okay.
David East
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm
actually
not from here.
That's right.
So I apologize for that. And at some point you want to get involved in that business, I guess. And
We owned Old 502 Winery.
Okay, right.
And
Okay.
beer and wine seemed like a natural companion. Of course, who knew the bourbon explosion was going to come?
Golly.
But so we're in the process of building out a facility on Liberty and Campbell Streets,
Okay.
which will house both companies.
Oh wow! I just drove past that today, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder what they're doing right there."
So
That's
stop
cool.
in,
Yeah.
have a cold one.
Anytime.
4 or 5. Yeah.
Okay, so at some point you decide to invest in this new project. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so both our sons and our daughter played some soccer in high school,
Okay.
although Katie was more of a volleyball player. The boys both had the benefit of playing on good teams at Floyd Central and Providence. We sold our business 8 years ago, went down to the Bahamas and spent some time. About the time we were ready to sort of get back into the business community in Louisville, I got a call from Wayne and he was looking for investors. So, God rest his soul, I agreed to invest with him.
Yeah, that's something that we don't like to think about. So
Exactly.
it's a very hard thing to think about. And then fast forward, I guess, to at some point the stadium deal. I won't talk about the stadium deal. At some point,
There's a stadium.
there's a stadium.
Almost.
There's got to be some moment where you sit there and go, "Wow, this is happening." Is it? I know it may be a gradual thing. It might be, but is there a moment when all of this is going on and we're playing games and the team's growing and so on and so forth? That you're just like, "What is going on here?"
When I got asked to get involved and step in as chairman, was probably the first moment when.
Boy, that makes it real.
Yeah, well, I thought we were just doing this for fun.
Right.
But a lot of kudos to the other board members and, Mike and Tim and John and
Tim Malloy.
Tim Malloy and the other guys who really stepped up and helped. But I think the moment for me was we'd all spend more money than we thought we were going to spend.
Right.
Certainly from the beginning. But we sat down with the owners as a group and we laid the plan out and we said, this is what we need to do. And these are the checks we need. And people started to get their checkbooks out.
Right.
That was probably the wow moment. Like,
Yeah.
we're really going to do this.
How many times have you stood quietly and just stared at it?
Well, I've never really stood quietly because usually I'm zooming. I think I may be one of the few people who gets yelled at, though, for just popping in and without a hard hat on, just because I want to see the progress. So probably at least once a week I do that, go down there and just pull in the Cable Street end and just kind of look around. It's pretty cool.
I keep hearing how good the partners that you've had in the building of this stadium. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it sounds like they have done a remarkable job and that the relationships have been fantastic. I mean, that's anything we hear above and sort of below ground too, because we have informants. No, we're just making that up. I want to sound like we're in the deep, but we're not. We're not.
Right now.
We're just here.
trained ground squirrel.
Yeah, we're just-
Microphones.
Could you, and actually, just if you want to throw a little something out towards the folks that have been working on that and what they're all about, because like I said, it's been anything we hear is just amazingly positive.
I think Messer and Harmon and all the subcontractors have really gone above and beyond thus far, but you're not finished yet, Ken.
Right.
I don't think it hurts a little bit though that, Messer is an ESOP, so it's an employee owned company. I've got several family members who work there, a couple of uncles who've retired from there.
Okay.
And while they're not obviously at the top of the company, they're guys we could call, put a little heat on if we needed to.
Right.
But fortunately, we've never had to do that. Yeah, they're great people.
And I guess we're at the phase where it looks like the grass is about to go in.
Mhm.
I've heard a little bit about how they were growing the grass in southern Indiana.
Yep.
Can you tell us? I mean, I'm just sort of glossed. When somebody said that to me, okay, the growing grass. Can you
I
tell
saw the drainage going in, and I was like,
I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that process? Because to me, that's kind of, you're going to have to cart in like truckloads of grass.
Mhm.
And what is that all about? I mean, I never thought about that until recently. It's like,
"Is that Bermuda, man?"
yeah, man.
It's not Bermuda, And so when we were looking around, one of the stadiums that we really liked was Kansas City, what they were doing there. And, they have a big sub-air system that actually heats the ground.
Right.
So that the grass we trick the grass, if you will, so it'll grow through the winter. The soccer season starts early,
Right.
April, March really for some games. So, you want to have a good turf and be ready to play. And,
Right.
At Lou City, we want to be ready to play.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it was a little more expense, but something that we think is really worth it and a part of the total experience of what we want. Again, we want it to be the most impressive stadium in the country or in the world
Now,
someday.
I know you all took a lot of inspiration off of Via Stadium out in San Jose.
Mhm.
People have said, I've seen comments online that it is a better version of Avaya, and they're jealous. just to throw that out there.
No comment.
There you go. So there was something you talked about the bourbon barrel. You're talking about all of that. One of my complaints about American soccer for years has been it's the new teams that are coming up are so cookie cutter, and they're so bland. There's been a couple, Vegas. Now you've got Madison. This stadium helps us continue to move towards that path where this stadium is uniquely Louisville. So from a physical standpoint, you've got a stadium that does that. Without getting into detail, I'm assuming that that's putting Louisville's signature from a personality standpoint is a pretty important thing for you.
Well, to me, number one thing is if you're going to do, we've said in various press conferences and things, the Ben Franklin line, which I truly have tried to live my life by, at least partially, and that's, whatever your lot in life, build something on it.
Okay.
So at least for the Nice family, we're not really interested in just being one of the owners of a soccer team.
Right.
We're interested in being one of the owners of a winning soccer team.
Absolutely.
And, whether everybody else does it or not, we're playing for the stars.
Yeah.
And we like the two. We're looking forward to a third one.
Mhm.
And, it's as Dr. Lynn said, it's fascinating to watch these athletes and see how committed they are, not just to the team, but to the community and to all the other things we ask them to do on behalf of us and themselves. And I got to tell you, like standing in Orlando, and at the All-Star game, and getting a picture taken with three of our former players who are now in the MLS and our former coaching staff, it was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And I guess I'm going to ask you, how are they all doing? I'm assuming you got a chance to say hello.
Oh, they're all doing well. Mark obviously is a star.
Having a hell of a year.
Probably going to keep right on moving up if I had to guess. And I think once Kyle and, Greg get their opportunity, they'll be there to stay.
That's good.
That's why when I talk to them, that's what I tell them all the time anyway.
Right. And is there any mention about their legacy here or what they miss from being here? Or I'm assuming, of course, that they're thankful that they had the opportunity here. Something that ties it back to Louisville.
I think they all say the same thing, that they felt more of a family feel in Louisville than they felt other places. And, that's what we want them to do. I've said it in the USL podcast. I wish they could all be back here for the first game next year.
Yeah.
We know some of them will be playing somewhere else. It's entirely possible even that one of them could be playing against us. I hope he plays the game of his life and loses.
Right.
That's what we're looking, that's what we're hoping for. And they're just great people.
Well, I am angling to sing the national anthem at the first league game. So
So you're pretty good. So,
okay, I'm just letting you know that right now.
I
Sorry,
understand.
'cause I don't ask for much. I'm just kidding.
just keep the bourbon coming.
Oh, he knows how Louisville works. No. Well, I'm from Jersey. We know how to do it like the no. I got to ask you a little bit. We have yet to talk about him a ton in this show because we really want it to be about supporters and our community. Plus, speaking to everybody from your side of it. Tell us about John Hackworth, man. I mean, Coach Hackworth, has been. He walked into a brutally difficult situation, and people can say this or that or whatever. I think he has been amazing, both on the field, winning a championship with a team that he had just sort of, this team had a character already, and he had to sort of kind of mix his thing in there. And then this year with some change, I think he's been amazing. I mean, tell me what you think. I mean,
I think John's done a great job for us. I know when we were interviewing, we had interviewed a couple of coaches 2 or 3 times. And John and I were on about our 3rd or 4th interview because we were feeling like he was going to be the guy. And 2 funny stories in one.
Okay.
I said, John, I just want to ask you one thing. Do you know what the job is about mostly? And he said, yes, John, winning. That's one of the reasons I want to come there.
Right.
And then we had a breakfast interview with a couple of other people just to kind of make sure everybody saw what I saw and felt the same way. And we were walking in, and he leans over to me, and he says, so now is the job mine,
There you
or
go.
am I
Nice.
interviewing him?
Nice. Good for him.
And I said, John, what's the most important thing?
But he does not get enough credit. And I don't like to carry anybody's water because they carry their own. They don't need us to do that. But the thing is, he came into a situation where he was coaching a national team with that sort of dynamic, right? And you're talking about younger players who are all, they all have a certain aspiration that has nothing to do with club teams or local teams. And then he goes from that situation where they're playing on big pitches and they're doing all that to a local team that's still working. I mean, we're still working to establish ourselves in the community. There's never going to not be a U.S. I think he was coaching, was it not the U23? He was coaching the 21.
I think it was U17.
U17s.
Yeah.
And so there's never not going to be a U17 team, but there's, you talk about club situations where teams are up and down and sometimes financially they struggle. People just don't appreciate how much of a change this was for him. And then on top of that, making this team or helping this team get to the championship in his role. And then this year with coming back and turning things around, he just doesn't get the credit he deserves. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with that. I think John said something last year when he first came in to me. He probably didn't say it to a lot of other folks, but he said, the talent and the chemistry on this team is incredible. I've never really seen that. My job here is just to try to help and to stay out of the way of some of that, as opposed to coming in and you're going to do it my way.
Right.
Which I think speaks to a lot to John's character and his ability to recognize that. And, the players weren't doing too badly without a coach. I do want to give them the kudos
absolutely,
on that one.
absolutely. And they didn't sign up for that either.
Right, correct.
But I think you kind of stepped over something that I really appreciate about you based on what I've learned, is that you are hands off because you know the need to be hands off. That's not always the case. I mean, you're going to run into teams, co-owners and chairmen and whatever at any level who feel it's their absolute responsibility to have their thumb on everything that's going on the field all the time. That makes absolutely no sense. And I'm wondering the character that you've built to do that. I'm assuming that came through your business, family, growing up. You know how to compartmentalize that and not do these certain things. So
I think it probably comes from growing up with a single mother and 3 kids.
Right.
Everybody had responsibility and chores, and you had to do your own. Sometimes you had to do some others.
Right.
To keep somebody out of trouble, but they would tend to appreciate it. And it's, that's just the way we should all live life.
Right.
If I can do my shameless plug here.
Sure, go ahead, do it.
I can't tell you the number of people that have come up to me and said, oh my God, your stadium looks fantastic. What a new gateway to the city. I love what you're doing. My first question back is always, what are you doing? How many games have you been to?
Right.
And surprisingly, a lot of people say none.
Yeah.
And then the very next breath, they want to talk about MLS or something else. Well, it takes a city. They've got to
Yeah.
support it. They've got to come. They don't have to come to every game, but they got to come. They got to get out there. They got to let us know they care, because we care a great deal about Louisville, about what we're trying to do, but we need their support. We need their help.
Sure.
And, I'll get off my soapbox.
No, enjoy it. Stand on that soapbox, because this community, what I've learned about, having lived here now on and off for almost 20 years, and I love it out here. I'll never want to live anyplace else. But it takes a little bit of a nudge. It takes a little bit of a nudge to get things going, but once they get going, they're in. And I also talk a little bit about this. I've been around the country at a lot of soccer, a lot of sporting events, and then having judged and done a lot of stuff like that. This city's weird when it comes to people being at the stadium at the beginning of a game. It really is.
Yeah.
And I attribute it to, it's probably stupid. I mean, just me trying to rationalize it. But you go to the track, which is Louisville, is Derby.
Mhm.
It's the sporting culture of this town. It's so unique. It's the only other thing I can think of is like, New Orleans and Mardi Gras, where it's so intertwined. But they don't have to be there at the first race. And I'm wondering, I mean, is that stupid? Does that make any sense at all? I mean, am I missing something when I say that? Or what do you think? I guess the question would be the culture of the city of Louisville, integrating that turning this into what you want it to be. What do you think has to happen?
Got to open that last Fall City 5 minutes earlier, so you can to be in your seat for kickoff.
There you go. So set the clocks 5 minutes ahead.
Set your clock 5 minutes ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Another question I want to ask about that, and Brad spoke about this a little bit, and Tim, when Tim was on here, he said, we talk a little bit about other aspects of the community that have nothing to do with Louisville City wanting to be engaged in having events at the stadium. Don't have to get specific, but that's got to be something that really exciting to see that kind of thing starting to happen.
I think what's exciting is the whole of it. And by that I mean, for years, all right, living here, where are you going to build the bridge? Right? Well, the interstate stops right here on both sides. It really wasn't that hard to figure out. But we took a long time to figure it out. And I think we need to think more regionally, so that we're bringing the fan experience from both sides of the river and all getting engaged, involved. And I think probably the biggest thing is what we talked about early, but we need 24 to 40 to 60 other fields around here where all the youth can play. And we bring youth from other communities in here. When our children were growing up, and you get in the car and you drive to Indy or Cincy or Florida to go to a tournament, right? Let's make soccer the destination where they come here for the tournaments. And then they get to play in that great stadium if their team's good enough, to make the championship game, and then showcase it any way we can via concerts or a rugby match or lacrosse match or whatever, but not losing sight of the fact that that stadium is about soccer. It's about Louisville City and the city of Louisville.
You just mentioned rugby. I'm telling you, with what's going on with the NFL, that sport is going to explode in 10 years. It's gonna. I mean, you already got our national team is actually really good.
I'd play rugby right now if I didn't think it would break me.
I'm telling you, yeah. If I watch a game, I get sprained muscles watching them play. To see them, to see the greater point being, to see the engagement, understanding that other things have to happen at that stadium. They don't have to, but other things happening at that stadium to make it part of the cultural webbing, or whatever you want to word, as part of the community.
Maybe we could have Nickelback and invite.
Maybe we could have
Nickelback.
Yeah. Maybe we could, or maybe not. So I really don't have much else to ask. I mean, I just, as a supporter of this team, I really want to thank you, and I mean that sincerely. This has been a unique and amazing experience being a supporter of this team, because the fact that it started literally from nothing to what it's turned into the last 5 years, and you're at the helm. And I know you have. You don't strike me as a proud individual. You don't strike me as one of those folks. But accept the praise, because you've done your thing. And you've done it well. And I know that we all appreciate that. And I want to thank you personally for that. That you came. I mean, you came here. You don't have to do this. This is something that we don't have to do this, but we do it anyway because we love it. And I'm sure that there's an emotional attachment to this I see happening. And I'm assuming that's part of it. I guess one last question: 5-10 years from now. The NWSL thing. Okay, there's a lot of conversation. I'd be remiss not to ask you about that. You don't have to. Something that would be good if we can make something like that happen. I mean, if you were a supporter of the team, forget about. I'm trying not to make this uncomfortable. I
No,
apologize.
you're not making me uncomfortable.
Okay. Good idea. I think. Yes.
I think women are great soccer players too.
Yeah.
And if you love soccer, you should love watching both sexes play the game.
Right.
Right. So I think the NWSL is something that hopefully if we get the opportunity as a city, we can embrace it and build on that. And, just look at what Portland's done with women's soccer, and, look at what our national team's done in the last 2 World Cups. Why wouldn't we support it?
Right.
If we take it back, Joe, to your Kentucky Derby, we've got an Oaks and a Derby.
Yes, sir.
So
Bingo.
why can't we do both?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, unless you got anything, does anybody have anything else? Mr. Neese, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really, really appreciate you having coming on, and hopefully we get you on again
Absolutely. Love to
sometime.
come back.
Once that stadium, once we have grass,
Once we have
all the
grass,
stuff, and all that good stuff. So,
hopefully no donkeys.
no donkeys.
But I'd like to say before we step out of here,
Mhm.
I know a bit about Harbor House, what they do.
Okay.
And, I've been on the board and worked some with New Hope Services in Indiana, so they share some similar things.
Okay.
So I know you're going to talk about some
Absolutely.
fundraising and many. And my wife and I think tonight would like to recognize the 2 stars and maybe donate $1,000 a piece to that
Golly.
effort. And
We really appreciate that.
thank you for having us.
That's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you,
man.
Mr.
Yeah.
Neese. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And that's John Neese. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, John.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, I got you.
Like I said, this whole thing had a family feel to it from day one.
Yeah.
You
How
know?
many times in those 2 segments did the word family get said?
Right. I mean, Matt. I mean, you've lived here. I know you both have.
Yep.
To have somebody say
Can't get
something
rid of
like
me.
that is it's pretty cool. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. Before we do our reveal, you had something you wanted to discuss.
I did.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to put on my nerdy hat as if I ever take it off.
Okay. Go ahead, man.
Have you heard of something? Are you familiar with something called the Mandela effect?
The only Mandela I know is Nelson. So,
It actually has to do with Nelson Mandela.
That's why they named it the Mandela Effect.
golly.
As we know,
Holy
he
crap, I
was-
can't believe we put that together like that.
As we know, he was in prison for a long time. He got out. He became the president, prime minister, whatever, of
Yes.
South Africa.
Mhm.
There apparently are some people who, and quite a few, who remember incorrectly that he died in prison, but he didn't.
No, he did not. That's right.
Similarly, we had another example of that book.
Berenstain Bears.
Yes, is it the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears?
I don't know.
Well, apparently, if you ask most people, they will say it's the Berenstain Bears with
Okay.
an E, but it's the Berenstain Bears.
Stain?
STAI.
What did you think it was?
Berenstein.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another example is the movie. This movie did not exist, but if you ask people, they will swear up and down they saw it. The movie Shazam, starring Sinbad.
I thought there was a movie named. There wasn't.
No,
So what happened? What are we talking? See now.
it's just people.
Now I need a beer.
Either people conflated things, or they kind of remember something, and their friend kind of remembers something. It's a false memory that somehow gets implanted. It turns out we have our own example of this phenomenon.
Yes,
I
we
don't know if you
do.
knew that.
I see where you're going with this.
There are people who believe that the first meeting between Indianapolis and Louisville was in 2015.
No.
Of all ridiculous things.
Of course.
I mean, we've just how many historic players, matches, coaches have we just discussed just in this one episode?
Yes. And you know what's kind of cool? It's not just. I think they got like a little bit of a Star Trek thing going on. There's multiple timelines because if you ask the folks that are at the PR office at Louisville City, they don't know about the Bugsy O'Malley timeline, if you will,
That's messed
the
up.
O'Malleyan timeline.
It's quantum history.
It is quantum history. It's you sort of experience it in your own way in your own time, and it has been. I don't know about you guys, but I have a gas with this stuff.
Oh, it's great.
It's friggin' hilarious watching some of the folks, and it's not just that. It's the folks that don't normally post stuff that are getting involved in it and posting some pretty funny stuff.
Oh, it's great.
And I love this rivalry. So it's called the Mandela effect.
The Mandela effect, remembering something falsely that just didn't happen that way.
So Epicac
Epic.
The FC.
is part of it.
Some people think it started in 2015. It's shocking. I don't get it.
But okay, well, I'm gonna ponder that. I'm gonna make sure that in my life I do not allow myself to engage in the, or maybe I should allow myself. I mean, does mescaline do that? Not that I do mescaline.
I don't know.
Whoa.
I've never heard of mescaline. I don't even know what that is. I made that up. I've never touched this stuff, really. Never ever in my life have I done anything naughty like that. Never. I apologize. Anyway, I guess it's time to move on here.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, John Neese was kind enough to mention an organization called Harbor House. And we have two individuals here, the one that are representatives of that company, or company, it's not a company, it's an organization. And we are going to be helping them. We're going to be partnering with a long-term fundraiser effort with them. And I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's going to be the kind of thing that we can all really rally around. We have been talking around. I mean, Angel Share has done a tremendous job in rekindling sort of the interest on a month-by-month basis on different organizations, different fundraisers. But I thought it would be nice to have another layer to that that's long-term. So there's multiple things going on, build on the foundation of it. So Michelle was kind enough to introduce me to the two folks that are coming up right now. We had a meeting last week and we decided to go ahead and run with this. So if you all want to come on up here. And if somebody, you know what?
Episode 7, mark it down. It finally happened.
I can go ahead and grab it. I can't grab it here. I appreciate
I need to do dad things.
Give me a minute.
Oh, okay. No, he's okay. Okay. So let's make sure that we got both of you on here. You got one microphone. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves?
I'm Robin
Robin, what's your last name?
Pittman.
Robin Pittman and
Hello, Sarah McEntee.
Sarah McEntee. Robin Pittman and Sarah McEntee, and they are representatives of Harbor House. And we are going to be partnering with them for the next 8 months, getting a group of people together who want to do the Kentucky Derby Mini Marathon.
Yes.
And we are really looking forward to doing this. So just, I guess, maybe a little bit about yourselves individually, how you got involved, where you went to school, stuff like that.
Sure. I went to the University of Kentucky and graduated, God, I've lost track of years. But then I went to U of L for grad school and ended up here, met my husband here, and
Okay.
we've been married 5 years.
Awesome.
I have a daughter that is 2 years old.
Oh, that's great. Great. Okay, Robin?
I'm from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. So, and I went to school at Western Kentucky, so stayed in that area. Was just looking for some more opportunities. So I came to Louisville and I got involved with Harbor House because my brother actually used to volunteer there. So it kind of came full circle for me. Not married, no kids, but have two beautiful fur baby cats.
There you go. I love cats.
So,
I love cats.
yeah.
I am a cat person.
I like to bring them up any chance I get.
What's the names?
Tundy, short for Thunder Kitty, and Turtle.
I had 2 sets of cats when I lived in Kentucky. The first set was Fido and Rover. The second set was Snoopy and Dino. Because I don't know, I just like confusing my cats.
Yeah.
So, okay. So anyway, I would, if you could tell us a little bit about, well, it's very general, but tell us about Harbor House. Tell us about it.
Sure. So Harbor House is a nonprofit day program and training center for adults with disabilities. So a lot of the times when these types of people age out of the school system, they lose a lot of their resources. So some of them will just end up sitting on the couch all day and they don't have anything to do. So that's where we come in at Harbor House. We're a place for them to go during the week where maybe their caretakers are working, and our participants get a chance to have employment, interact with the community, learn life skills classes, and just make friends and relationships and have something to do during the day and feel fulfilled.
That's such an important thing to do. I can't imagine. Well, thankfully, we're all blessed to be able to do what we can do it on a daily basis. And when you get a little older, and I'll admit it, I'm going to turn 54 this year. You start, I know I don't look it, I understand. But what are you laughing at? Don't you laugh at me, Derek.
I'm proud of you for being so young.
I appreciate it. Thinking about is that you start thinking about how, care, and you start thinking about what's going to happen when, because your career is, you're looking at another 15 years maybe of working. And if you have that kind of situation that you're dealing with, I mean, I don't, thankfully, but they do. And I'm assuming that that's okay. We're good. Yeah, right. If there's, let me start with this, I guess. How long have they been around?
27 years.
27 years.
Yeah.
And I believe, how many people right now?
So right now we serve, I think we're at 103 adults with disabilities, and we range in ages 18 to 73. So a wide range of age and ability.
Okay, and I guess if when a person is introduced into that program, what's there's got to be an evaluation step. I mean, I don't know anything about this, so I'm trying to say it in a way that's intelligent, that that I can ask a question that you kind of understand. Introducing them into that environment, into that program. What is that all about?
We don't take really severe medical needs, so they have to be able to be in the Harbor House community. Okay. And it's all about just making sure that it's a good fit and that they're safe and happy, and it's a good fit for them and for Harbor House.
Okay. Long-term care, I'm assuming.
So we don't have housing on site, but we do have a respite house. So on the weekends we can they can stay. It kind of gives the caregivers a break, and then they stay with our staff. And they call it a sleepover, and it's full every weekend. So it's 5 of them just hanging out at the house all weekend and doing fun activities and things that we want to do.
And I guess some of the activities during the day, Monday through Friday, that they're engaged in would be.
So we have a mail room on site, so they could do mail jobs. We work with a lot of businesses and nonprofits in the city to do mail service and fulfillment. We also have a program called Home Sweet Home that they can work in, where we match our participants with seniors and businesses in the community, and they do light housekeeping.
Okay.
So it lets them get out and help the senior population, and then the seniors feel like they're helping.
Is there a specific story? I mean, obviously I don't want to get into names, but maybe discuss a specific story that really touched you, that you said, wow, this is really something that makes me feel like I have made a good choice in being involved in this. Is there anything in particular?
Yeah, I can think of one, and I mean, maybe we have different ones. I just know there's one participant that we have that she goes and she cleans every week at a business that we work for, and she cleans their break rooms and I think their bathrooms. And so to some people it's like, oh, that's just a job, whatever. But for her, that's a way to build relationships and really get out in the community. There's a guy that works there at that place that always goes there, and they have like this special bond. And just being able to see those relationships being built is really great, because it might not be there otherwise.
Right.
And the best part about that story is that for Christmas, she really wanted a laptop, and the staff at that business all came together and got her a laptop for Christmas.
Okay, how big of a staff do you have again? I'm sorry.
Oh, well, this was at the company that she was working at.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It's a huge company in the East End.
Right.
And she does cleaning there in the break room for them. And then they're like, oh, she really wants a laptop. Let's get her one for Christmas.
Okay. So at some point you get involved with the Kentucky Derby Mini Marathon.
Yes.
Okay. Is this the
So
second?
this will actually be our first year as a charity.
But you have another charity that you've done, which I heard about recently, with ducks.
Yes.
With rubber.
So our largest fundraiser is the Kentucky Derby.
Oh, wow. Kentucky.
Once you start saying it, you won't be able to say
it the other way.
It's impossible.
And we call it KDD. So the Kentucky Derby, we dropped over 40,000 rubber ducks into the Ohio River. And the winning duck wins. This year, I believe it will be a truck. Yet to be confirmed.
Those poor ducks.
Rubber ducks.
Rubber ducks.
Calm down, everyone.
They're not real.
I don't want to get any emails.
We get all the emails.
I jumped in that river. I didn't. Oh man.
Every single duck is collected and sent on to the next race.
That's amazing.
But for $5, you can adopt one duck, and then like I said, the winning duck gets a truck.
That's people. That's a big prize.
Yes.
A truck is a pretty amazing prize to get. Now, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Thanks to Toyota of Louisville and Swope Family Dealerships.
There you go.
Yeah.
And now this is the first year you're doing the mini marathon.
Yes. So this will be our first year. We've been part of the Derby Festival event. We're lucky that the Kentucky Derby is part of the Derby Festival. So this will be our 4th year. As part of the Derby Festival. We're the Saturday after, the same day of the marathon. But this will be our first year as the charity of choice.
Okay. And now some of the things a little bit of the experience, we talked at the meeting. Having done this, what ends up happening is they have the website. If you've never done the mini marathon before, you'll log in, and then if you want to sign up, you're given an option to run for a specific charity. And Harbor House is going to be one of those charities. And what we're going to ask to do is this. We're going to ask anybody, regardless of whether they're a Louisville supporter, non-supporter, somebody that's never, and I've already got a couple of folks that, have never been to a Louisville City game. I'm going to ask you, have you all been to a game yet?
Yes.
Of
Okay, well,
course.
that's a dumb question. I'm sorry. But, so I'm going to back up a little bit. What was your first, do you remember the first game you went to? And what was the experience like? Go ahead. You don't have to give us like a specific, but more of like the experience of what it was like.
Mine was early last season, and it was so much fun. I tailgated before.
Okay.
And
we do a little of that.
Yeah, we do a little of that. And that was really fun. We also sell ducks at Against the Grain.
Okay.
And it's right during that. So I've seen
Which one's
the
that?
line, the drum line.
Oh, a groove machine.
Oh, yep.
That's us.
Seen the groove machine.
That's okay.
I know. Sorry.
Once you say it this way, you'll never say it another way again. That's
So I have seen that groove machine group, and it's fun.
awesome.
Yeah, I can't remember when, like, specifically. I just remember I didn't really know anything about it. And I had a buddy who, he was like, yeah, one of the soccer players, he's couch surfing at my place. So he got us free tickets and we're going to go. And I was like, sure, whatever. And then I've gone pretty regularly since then. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty
We
amazing.
did have the Louisville FC soccer team out to Harbor House for our field day 2 years ago, I believe. And they came out and played, and it was a lot of fun. So we're talking with Michelle and trying to get them back out to Harbor House.
Awesome. So, and going back into the mini marathon, what you can do is when that site comes out, it won't be out for another month or so, but we can start talking it up now for people that want to get involved. You can do one of two things. You can get involved in the event, which I'm going to be doing, and a bunch of other people are going to be doing. Or if you choose not to get involved in the event, you can sponsor somebody. And that's what we're going to ask you to do. If you don't want to do the event, you'll go to, and we'll have plenty of examples of it, where you can go to the site and say, I'm going to pledge for, say, whoever, and I'm going to pledge X amount of dollars. Whatever the amount is, I'm sure, anything's accepted.
Anything, yeah.
But I have a goal, and my goal is 100 people at $100. That's a $10,000 check, you know? And I'd love to see that happen. And it's not just being involved in the event, that it's being part of something that really matters. When you start talking about taking care of other people who can't take care of themselves, I mean, there's a kindness there that's extended. You know, you have to love what you're doing, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, there's an emotional connection and a buy-in when you do something like this that doesn't exist in some other areas, right? So,
I do want to say that we want to make it really fun for you all as like a group. We're going to have tables at the Race Expo where you go pick up your packets for the marathon, so we can have fun giveaways and things like that. And then at Runners Reunite after the marathon, we're going to talk and plan some fun things after as well. And that's also the day of the duck race. So we have a VIP area that we can have all of our runners come to at the VIP area.
So even if you're not running in the event, maybe you're sponsoring somebody, or maybe you just want to check out and help out Harbor House, you can just go to the Kentucky Derby. I said it right.
Kentucky Derby.
But now that we can talk a little bit specifically, I can speak a little bit about what we're trying to do as far as people that are involved in the event. One of the things that we've run into, where I saw the first time I did it, was people don't like to run in groups too much because there's an involvement. There's two things that go on. Number one, there's a fear that they have to slow down to stay with the group. So you've got some experienced hard runners that do this stuff. And the second thing is that you get people who are afraid that they can't keep up with everybody. And that's a legit, that was my fear, because I did it for Active Heroes the first time. So what we're doing is this. We're going to have 4 groups. We're trying to work this in through the website. If we can't, we'll work it in somehow. We're going to try and set up 4 groups based on your skill set. Like I said, I know a couple of guys that they're career runners. I mean, they're competitive, and they're not going to run slow. I mean, so these are folks that are going to run somewhere within the 90-minute time. I mean, they're very fast. And then we're going to have a group for them. And then we're going to have a group for another level of competitors that are about the 2-hour mark, 2.25, 2.5. And then we're going to have a third level for about the 3-hour mark. And we're going to have a fourth group for the 4-hour. But the 4-hour group is basically the groups that walk. It takes, if you walk 3 miles an hour, which is your basic walking pace, So if you're interested in maybe thinking about doing this, don't worry about whether you can keep up with anybody, because that's not what this is about.
Right.
The most important thing is to raise money for your charity and to get people involved. And then, like you were saying, there's other things that are going to be going on that day that you don't have to have anything to do with.
One really cool thing that I went to the luncheon about the charity luncheon for KDF, and they talked about the relay teams.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool because you can have 5 people and split up the marathon.
Right.
So it's like basically each person runs a 5K.
Right. Okay.
So that's another option you can look at too, because for me, either the mini or the full marathon is very intimidating, but I could easily do the.
I've done it twice. So look at me right now. I put it, I'm very heavy right now, but that's not always the case. I mean, I've had some health issues, but the thing is that first of all, I wasn't a great athlete in high school, but I wasn't a crap athlete either. I mean, I was pretty good. I got 2 medals in sprinting, county medals. I was pretty fast. The thing is that I wasn't a great athlete, but it's doable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like this is something that can't be done and there's no way to do it. If I could do it, trust me, anybody can do it. Because I'm
gonna go ahead and commit to running right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, our first commitment. Derek Davis. You are the man. Derek Davis is our first commitment. He's our first committed runner.
We'll send you a rubber duck.
We'll send you a rubber duck.
Of course.
And we're also talking about T-shirts.
I know where you live.
Right, we're talking about T-shirts and stuff like that we'll be able to purchase. Or not purchase. I don't even know how it's going to work yet. Well, tell us a little bit more. Well, now we've talked also about what we're going to do coming up to the event.
Yeah.
So tell us a couple of things that you'd like to see happen before
Well,
the event.
this is all in early planning.
Very early
stage.
planning stage,
so
but it's great to get it out
We
there.
met with Michelle, and that's how we got introduced to Joe. And we are exploring possibly being the April Angel Share program partner.
Okay.
So
I think we'll be able to work that in.
So that would be an exciting opening month. And of course, it's our biggest month too.
Right.
And we can just duck out the stadium and duck out all the supporters. And
No pun intended, right?
No, I got all the duck puns.
And we also have a very good friend. His name is Quacky.
Okay.
Yes, he's a large duck mascot that we bring with us almost everywhere. He couldn't make it tonight.
We could team.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does Ducky play drums?
We could team Ducky up with the Sub Sandwich guy.
Oh my God!
He's actually Sir Quacky. He's been knighted in the League of Mascots.
Has he really?
Yes.
So I think
he's a celebrity.
So one of the takeaways from this, I think Ducky needs to come down and play drums with us.
Okay.
Yes,
At a future
absolutely.
game.
Hey, Matt, can we commit to wearing duck helmets to one of the games?
You just got a card.
I'll give a shout out to Katie McWhorter because she's Quacky's
Katie's
biggest
wonderful.
fan.
Yes.
Katie, I love Katie.
Quacky's
Getting married.
biggest fan.
Getting married
Yeah.
in November.
We love Katie as well.
Singing at the wedding. I'm actually singing at it. It's gonna
Are you
Awesome.
really?
Yes, I am. Okay, so let me tell you a couple of things that we're planning on doing up to the event or getting ready with. Speak English. Getting ready for it. We're looking in January sometime to doing a video, and also we're talking about trying to plan plan a visit.
Right, yeah.
So after the season's over, it's kind of hard to do right now, but during the off season, and we're not really going to have an off season this year because getting ready for the stadium is going to be so crazy, and there's so many things that everybody wants to do. But we're looking to say, and we kind of talked about January, but we're not sure yet about possibly doing some visits, doing a video, maybe doing a show from there, doing a remote.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that way, getting that all together. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We think the website will be live end of this month, end of
Okay.
September.
End of September.
Right, and we'll share that all over our social media and of course with Joe. So just follow us on Facebook. That's where we post most of our stuff, and we'll get it out
Website?
to you.
Harbor House of Louisville,
Mhm.
hhlou.org.
hhlou.org. We'll make sure when I edit this thing, we'll throw that down at the bottom too.
Right.
What am I missing? Have I missed anything that we talked about?
Well, I know you had talked about in January, actually, the Kentucky Derby Festival starts like a training program. So if anyone's interested in that, we're not sure the details on that yet, but that's something if you're worried about the race, that's something to help you out with it. And we can do whatever we can to make it fun. Bring Quacky out there to cheer you on. Whatever
Get
it may
wacky
be.
with Quacky.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
Yeah,
I
good
just
job.
made that up. I'm smart
You looking
sometimes.
for a job?
Yeah. Trust me. No, wait. Matt, you were the mascot back in high school, college, weren't you?
Yeah.
That's what. So you have
Sounds like you've had some
you-
bitter times.
You're always
No
looking for
mascot.
people to be quacky too.
Yeah.
So you have some. You
I don't
know,
need a special package.
oh, Jesus. So
Dude, I'll dress up like Quacky.
I don't care. I'll dress up like Mrs. Quacky if it helps out. Quack-
Yeah, girl.
Yeah, okay.
Quackette. I'll dress up whatever that is. Whatever it takes. We're gonna raise some money, and the goal is that we want to present a check at halftime of the game, and we want it to be a big number. And I think we've been talking about pairing with an organization. You all have been great so far. I know it's going to be a great mutual relationship. And the thing is that when we've been talking about doing whatever we can to show that we're serious in the community about doing something big. Well, this is something big. I mean, this is something that we can do. My goal is I'm hoping that whoever's involved in the event, when that last group, that fourth group comes down, people stick around and that we all go straight down the street together.
Yeah.
And, play a couple cheers, maybe make something like that happen. That would be massive.
Right.
And we want to put our stamp on the community, and you want to reach into the community and get and you have an extension. We didn't mention that, right? Isn't there something that you're doing to extend the facility?
So we're
now?
currently working. We're pivoting our mission a little bit and looking at an intergenerational aspect. So it'll be our adults with disabilities, but also bringing in the senior population and children all under one roof with intentional programming, because we know that we want everybody to be connected and back to that community feel.
Okay.
So yeah, we are currently we've expanded our mission and we're looking at how to grow that.
Okay. I think that as time goes on, we'll get a ton of information out there. We'll continue to meet. It's a little, like I said, it's a little early right now. The only thing I really want to see happening pretty soon is, Quacky's got to come down and play some drums.
Yeah.
And that'd be a great way to push.
Yeah,
that'd be a great way to get some interest generated, and people are gonna be like, first thing that's gonna happen. I'm telling you what's gonna happen. Get ready, because there's gonna be some dopes on social media. What is that? Our mascot?
Yeah.
What are we doing? When did we turn into the Louisville City Ganders? That's gonna guarantee you that is going to happen. That's not the case. We just whatever.
The sash that he wears that says
Yeah.
Barber House.
Okay, so there you go.
A gander is a goose. Not a
Yeah.
duck.
That's
Well,
thank
thank you, Matthew. Matthew is the brains of this operation. And so whatever it takes to number one, to expand the partner, to introduce the partnership. I mean, it's pretty new. And to try and get as many people. I know it's a challenge. There's going to be somebody listening to this right now that's like, there's no way I can do this. Yes, there is a way. You can trust me. If I can do it, anybody. And I did it under 3. I did like 2:47 the last time I did it.
We will motivate you.
And you're going to be working. Like I said, there's going to be 4 different groups. It's not just going to be one. So there's we talk about putting our money where our mouth is. Let's do it. Let's make this happen, and let's make it an awesome event. And whoever's involved, like I said, we'll throw that big old check out there and let everybody know that we're serious. And that's going to help you all. And hopefully we can start talking about things, once we work that out in the future. So is there anything else that you want to add, or go ahead?
I know we kind of mentioned maybe in the off season, people coming out to Harbor House for a tour. And obviously I work there, so I'm going to say this, but I truly believe from the bottom of my heart, you have to come out there and meet our people to truly see our mission. And you will get, I had some tours today, and just as soon as people walk in, our participants want to meet you. They want to hug you. They want to, I didn't even have to do anything, because our participants were showing them everything and showing them how much they loved Harbor House. And it was just really awesome. So I really encourage anybody to come out there that can.
Happiest place.
Awesome. So, Robin, Sarah, thank you so much. I'm
thank
sure
you.
that
Yes.
we're going to have you on again.
Okay.
I'd reach over, but
You're
I'm
fine.
sort of
I know if we were doing the fist pump.
Yeah.
Thanks for
So-
all your roles.
But absolutely, we will have Robin and Sarah on again to discuss where we're at, and we'll keep you posted. We'll be talking about this pretty much every show. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
I have a quick announcement.
Do it.
Lincoln Davis, it's a school night.
Get to bed, young man.
You know what to do, sir. Go brush your teeth. Get yourself ready for bed.
It's hard to be a podcast host and a dad at the same time.
Always be the
Right. Ladies, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Look, like we said, we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're going to do this. Let's do it. And,
Absolutely.
It's great to see the Angel Share thing kicking out the way it is. It's great to see people that have reached out to Michelle. They've reached out to Lisa. They've reached out to Shauna about doing more stuff. And that doesn't mean that this is the end all be all. If you have an idea, let's run with it. I mean, there's no reason that, like I said, the whole idea is to add layers. The more layers, we grow the foundation of this thing, and we introduce ourselves to the community in a way that we just haven't done yet. I don't know, man. So we haven't talked about the game last week, but we don't need to do a whole deal about that. But we keep winning.
We do.
It's a good
4 in a
feeling.
row.
It's nice.
Yeah.
What do you think about winning 4 in a row? Derek?
I think winning 4 in a row is great, especially at this time in the season, because it gives your guys confidence.
Yep.
It gives the fans confidence in the team to further their excitement during the games.
I just got that beer pour on microphone. That's going to be
Oh,
big.
nice.
Okay.
You just got that beer on the microphone.
I'm sure that the locker room atmosphere is awesome right now.
Yeah.
The guys, hopefully, we're talking about the way that they gel and the feeling of family that they have and whatnot. Right now, they're probably feeling pretty good about each other, and they know that that's coming into the playoffs. I hope they have the mentality right now that, hey, we can divide and conquer and we can do this again. And it just based on the way they've been playing lately, I think that's a good kind of observation to make about them right now.
And we've had a couple people on here that talked about going on a late season run, Matt. And well, we're doing this late season run without our captain and arguably our most explosive player, without Paulo and without Ownby. So I'm going to admit it. I'm not freaked. I've been on here and said it. We have enough talent, even with those guys hurt, to compete with anybody anywhere. But still, I mean, right? I mean,
The thing that's there now that hasn't been there in the past is they finally know where everybody's going to be.
Yeah.
They finally all know what they need to be doing. And when there's a pass, somebody's on the end of it. They're doing more than kicking it into the corner and trying to cross in. I mean, they're actually developing the ball wherever the other team will let us. So, yeah.
And we talked about that. I don't know if it's, and I haven't analyzed it enough, but I don't want to say Ownby not being there is not a good thing. It's a terrible thing. But we talked about this last week. It may have forced people to be a little more creative than just, hey, get the big kid the ball. I mean, that gets old after a while,
That over the top offense.
Yes.
Yep.
Start running. Here comes.
And they all know it's coming too. So,
Yep.
So we win. We score a goal again. We're not winning pretty. Can't say that we're winning, but we're developing. We're doing okay. I don't think it's. I mean, it's not like it's junk. Do your thing, man.
I have a question.
Go ahead,
Come on,
ladies and gentlemen. Joining us on the set, Lincoln Davis.
the man, the myth, the legend.
What's going on, Lincoln?
What's up, buddy? What you need?
You need something.
What's up? I'll be right back to turn your music
He
on.
will turn your music on in a second because we're almost done.
Yeah, Lincoln has a very excellent R&B playlist that he likes to
Nice.
listen to when he sleeps.
Such as?
What's up, Danger? From the Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
Can't stop me now.
But he's my son has a very eclectic musical taste.
That's good. That comes from Dad, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so it's this, and then one last question: the season playoffs. Now we don't have to worry about it. I wasn't worried that we wouldn't get into the top 10, but I was really worried that it would be like 9th. I think we're working.
And I think we're sitting pretty good. The last time I looked, I think that the team that is just out of playoffs, can't remember which team it is, but they're 10 back.
Right.
So it would take a pretty
Massive.
catastrophic turn for us to not make the playoffs at this point.
Is that Hartford?
I
can't remember.
It might be Hartford's coming up away. Where's Pittsburgh in this whole deal?
They're a
kind
couple
of
spots
struggling,
above
right?
us.
Oh, they are?
No, they're directly above us.
They're directly above us. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing is that we're going to start playing a couple teams away that we, I know we're playing Memphis at the end of the season, and then we got the big game tomorrow. I am really, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. What is it called again?
The Louisville Indianapolis Proximity Association Football Contest.
I ask you because you do it the best.
Why, thank you.
Unfortunately,
I do it the best because people keep asking.
It's practice.
Practice.
Unfortunately, I'm not going to be at the game tomorrow.
No,
You suck.
man,
You're a
that
horrible human being.
sucks.
My son's running cross country.
Good for him, man.
He's going to run a mile tomorrow.
He's going to run a mile tomorrow. Now that you've committed to doing the mini, eventually you'll start running a mile.
Okay.
Or maybe a mile and a half.
I'll jog a mile.
That's what I'm saying. There's no. Let me tell you something. I said I ran it. It's not running. I do old man jog.
Hold my ribs the whole time.
It's such an amazing. Let me tell you something. One of the first time I did it, one of the greatest accomplishments I ever felt in my life was getting. You do that 13.3 miles, and you get across, and it happens, and you're finishing the race. You're like, holy crap! I still got a ton left.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize it if you train correctly. And when I say train correctly, I'm talking about, you got to put some work in. Depending on how fast you want to do this, you got to put work in. But you know what? If you had to walk 13 miles, any three of us, if we had to walk 13 miles right now, if there was a serious situation, and we would do it. Mm-hmm. Like if you're a kid and you needed to walk 13 miles, you go do it in a heartbeat.
I'd do it right now.
If I had to walk to my mom, I'd go do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's what you want to do and how you want to do it. And join up with the rest of us and do this, man. Let's make this happen. It's going to be awesome. So unless there's anything else pertaining to what we've talked about, it's time for some rim shots, I think.
I know we don't usually do analysis, but
go ahead, do it.
What do you got? What do you see happening in the game?
This next one?
Yeah, Lipa FC.
Their defense is amazing.
It is.
Our offense is spurting.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take us establishing ourselves early. I really think that in this game, it's not so much about scoring first, so much as us imposing our will offensively on them and forcing them to creating a situation where them just laying back is not enough. We're going to have to do something creatively to make sure that we can do something early and force them, impress it. And I think, it might mean engaging another player in the attack and changing the formation a little bit. What do you think?
Could be.
I don't know, man.
Yeah. I mean, one thing they're not known for is their attack.
Right.
And we've got a small field.
Yep.
I mean, they got basically one major threat. I cannot remember the guy's name.
Are they bringing away fans down here?
Usually, yeah, they bring quite a few.
Yeah, I haven't heard any bantering online.
They don't really do that a whole lot.
Slaughterhouse 19 does. But
right.
Was it the other the Brickyard Battalion? Did that?
The Brickyard Battalion.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're sort of. I don't mean to interrupt you. I think that they're sort of caught in this limbo. I mean, they've only been out of NASL for 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they're probably more jealous about the MLS thing on some level than we would ever be, because it's Indianapolis is a wonderful city. Mm-hmm. I love, and I'm not even kidding when I say that. When I first moved out here, I was between this job and a job up in Indy. And it was like this. I mean, it was so close because I love Indianapolis. It's a great, great city. So I wonder if that plays a little bit of a role in it. Maybe them just embracing this whole USL thing a little. I don't know. I'm throwing that out there. But you were saying, I apologize.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really hard game for either team to score.
Yeah.
It's got all the makings of a scoreless draw, but I'm going to pick a 1-0 win for us.
Yeah, man. I
think we'll find something.
I think it can happen.
We're going to be without Magnus, but I don't know.
Yeah, man.
Openo's good, and he's due, and he's creative. He might be able to frustrate somebody.
Right. He has created some havoc the last couple of games, and just can't wait to get him and Naomi on the field together at the same time with a little bit more of with a little bit more. I'm sorry, I'm burping because I drank. No, I didn't drink too much in my second beer. Getting him on the field maybe with a little bit different personnel that allows both of them to just be a little more reckless. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
We could go after Wayne Rooney and get him to come play here.
Well, I guess starting with my first rim shot.
Seems
very unhappy in DC.
Wayne and Ibra are continuing to drop some bombs, and it's beautiful. I'm loving this.
It's the Jerry Springer of soccer leagues.
Yeah. I hate to say that because, like I said, I'll never dog our supporters who happen to love MLS fans. I will never do that. But I'm sorry, them two stepping up and saying and acting the way they've been acting. Rooney's done.
Oh,
he's had enough.
He's checking out.
He's ready to go. I mean, he would leave tomorrow if they'd let him out. And to see them stepping up right in MLS's faces and saying, look, whatever, you all. And it's beautiful, as opposed to some of the other homers like Beckham, who never, ever spoke up the way he was supposed to speak up. He was just more worried about doing his thing and getting paid. So I love it. I love that people are now starting to hear from the people that know way more about the game than any 25 of us will ever forget. I mean, they'll forget more than we'll ever know.
They've had some overseas players that have propped MLS up too, though. So it's not just
And I agree with that.
like Blanco that they had up in Chicago. He loved MLS. Like
and that's fair, and that's absolutely fair.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's. I was thinking more of the individuals that are supporting the teams than the players themselves. But you're right. And I just, man, you can't. It's like we've lost the ability in this country to have honest conversations about frigging anything. So if you're a supporter, like if this league was trash, the USL was trash, I would say, man, this league's trash, without worrying about who's hurting anybody's feelings that's on the team or anything like that. Anyway, go ahead. Anybody else? Rim shot time.
I didn't really come up with it. I didn't have a rim shot. Paying for extracurricular activities at school is horrible, but I pay for it, damn it, because I love my kid. That's all I got.
Man, I love that political banner in the supporters section said "No one ever."
Right. I try to steer away from that as hard as possible. But look, when the day comes when that needs to be addressed, we'll have to address it. It's just we're not there yet. And when it comes, we will.
Hopefully, we can address it collectively.
Yeah, collectively, and we'll my thing
As long
is
as we make fun of everyone involved. That's a must.
But here's the thing, man. Be you. Enjoy yourself. Express yourself. Have a good time. This Lipa AC
Lipa
FC thing. I can't. Epicac. This Epicac deal is the way sports should be.
Hell yeah.
It's a hell of a lot of fun. People are really enjoying it. It gets pretty intense at the game. There'll be a lot of shouting, yelling, and you suck and all that nonsense.
Have they figured out whose head's going to be bleeding this year since Kyle's gone?
Since Kyle's gone, really. But this is the way it should be. It's so much. This thing is more fun. This whole made up history thing is more fun than anything I've done as a supporter with the team. Just trying to be creative and coming up with stories. And Bugsy O'Malley, first of all, Billy Wilson, thank you so much again. He does that for nothing, folks. And if you go back and check it out, he's wonderful. He's a great friend. I've known him for so long. But it's supposed to be those 90 minutes. You scream and yell like an idiot, but everything around it is supposed to be enjoyable. We're going to a sporting event to have fun. And screw it. I'll say this. People have the right to say whatever they want. You say what you want. You feel what you want. Support who you want from a sporting standpoint, a political standpoint, whatever. But don't tell me that I have to listen to you. I'm going to do what I want to do.
I'm there for soccer.
I'm there to have a good time. So you go ahead with whatever you're doing and knock yourself out. Wear your pins, wear your banners, stand up for whatever thing you stand up for. But I ain't paying attention. I'm sorry. I'm not being. That doesn't mean I'm belittling anything that anybody's doing. It's just that you have a right to speak. I have a right to respond.
Everything.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I'm belittling everything.
Exactly.
Completely indiscriminately.
I could care. I could give a rat's ass about your initial in between the parentheses. It means nothing to me. But anyway, that's as far as I'm going to go with that. I guess that's it. I think this was an amazing show. I think this one was fantastic.
It was.
I want many thanks to Dr. Mark Lynn, to John Neese, and to Robin and Sarah from Harbor House, and we will be kicking that off tomorrow. We'll start seeing messages about that. We've already got some guests lined up for our next show, which I believe we're doing next week, right? Did we agree on that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna, next Wednesday we will have Thursday we will have it. Thank you. Next Thursday we will have another show. We will let you know about the guest. Let us know what you think at #3B Podcast. This has been wonderful, folks. I hope you had a great time. We're out of here, and we'll see you at the game tomorrow.
Good night, everybody. Epicac.
Epicac. Epicac. What's that song? Sweaty cat, a smelly cat?
Sweaty camel.
Epicac, 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 Epicac.
Oh my God.